by David Dezso, is the founder and CEO at Banyan Risk Group. David's also a former Green Beret, and it's good to see you. Haven't had you on in a while. As we look at these, not only the Houthi strikes, but anticipate what might happen from the U.S. after, as Kelly says, the Jordan attack. What are you looking for? We've been talking all week about a message that might be sent. What does it look like?
Yeah, great to be with you, Connell. I think the most important thing is it's not necessarily what we say, it's what we do. And so what we're looking right now is at 165 or so attacks on U.S. bases. The important thing to remember is they've been trying to kill Americans from day one. Every attack has been designed to kill humans or U.S. service people. And so when we've responded with strikes to caches or weapons facilities, and we've signaled that attacks are on their way, we're kind of giving them the ability to move people around. So the element of surprise is kind of taken. So what I'm looking for is, what's our action going to be? I know we'll likely go after the individuals that had the direct responsibility to do this. I think we'll still attack infrastructure. I think what you'll see is this administration, as any administration would have to do, is going to have to weigh in the election year, right? Nobody wants to get drug into a regional conflict even more than we are. And so I think those are the proponents that you'll see this administration having to face. I just would like to see a little bit more stern action, because I don't think any of the actions we've taken so far have not made Iran hesitate at all.
I'll bring up our maps, guys, if we can, and we'll take a look to follow up on what David is saying about the attacks that have happened or been launched against U.S. troops, and then to the point that David's making where we might go from here. So if you look at it now, 166 attacks against U.S. forces, right? So the large number up here is 166. But if we break it down and start looking at some of these other numbers, 98 in Syria, the 1 in Jordan, 67 in Iraq. Okay, so that's how it breaks down by country. Here's the point you were making, David. We switch screens here. Who are we going after? These, some there's faces, some there's not. But whether it's Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, the two groups in Gaza where we have Islamic Jihad listed along with Hamas, and of course the Houthis in Yemen. So do you target one of these groups, or is there any chance that the target is inside of Iran?
I would not think that they would respond inside Iran first. I think they're going to go after the safest bet, because you got to remember they're still trying to walk that fine line of not escalating due to the sensitivities of this election year, for sure. I think what you'll see is they'll continue to go after those responsible for the attack, whatever militia group it is, it turns out being. And then I think you'll see escalations on necessarily the Houthis that are disrupting the Red Sea. And I think you'll see leadership targeted as well. But I really would be surprised if they went inside Iran. I think that's an escalation that they're not ready to take at this moment. I think the reality is, though, the challenges are the more we wait and hesitate, the more these proxy groups get emboldened, right? Houthis and Hamas are gaining traction. They're solid together. They are disrupting the Red Sea dramatically. And so the longer it takes for us to react, the more emboldened and their recruiting efforts for their own soldiers are even getting better. So I think that's the challenge they face here. And again, forecasting that you're going to do something is not necessarily the same way it would have been done before, where we would just strike and push back immediately.
I think it's interesting you brought up domestic politics a couple of times. You're right. It's an election year. It's a consideration. Did you see, it's a separate subject to some degree, the executive order from President Biden today? We're about to go out to Michigan in a moment where he's campaigning and speak about that state. But he is now going to allow sanctions on some of the Israeli violence that's been carried out against Palestinians in the West Bank. And, some here domestically are saying, oh, that's all about Michigan, because he's been struggling with Arab American voters in particular in that state. But what about the practicality of something like that? Is this something you think needed to be addressed? Forget the politics. What did you make of the move?
I think he needs the authorities. That's why he did it, to put sanctions on those individuals for creating more violence that hurt the two-state solution.
Yeah.
It also allows a little bit more pressure for Netanyahu to push for more peace there amongst those Israeli settlers. I mean, I do think that's the component there. The two-state solution is what the Biden administration's been after. And I think the more those settlers move in, I think it stalls that. It also hurts the ability for that peace deal that's being worked on with the 6-week pause. I think it hurts that, because it's an extra iron in the fire that has to be considered.
Yeah, something supposedly on the table today. We've heard all kinds of rumors throughout the week about that, peace deal-wise, pause-wise. You confident that something could get done, that hostages could be released? And what about, you mentioned Netanyahu, him maybe getting in the way of some of that, the way he's been talking here in recent weeks?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of domestic pressure on Netanyahu as well. I think a 6-week pause is a big step. It's a necessary step if you want to try to get the hostages back. I think they're estimating 132 are remaining, with potential some dead. But I think if we talked about a 6-week pause originally, that would have been a very long pause. So
Right.
I think it's a harder peace deal because it's more complicated. It's got 3 phases, it looks like, as of now. But I don't think it's sitting with Hamas. But I don't. The way it sits now, I'm not sure Netanyahu's going to approve that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.